Hello and welcome, my loves. I apologise for the delay. I had lost Sadia's pictures, but we have them now. No, they're there. So yes, Sadia is number one anyway, so that's great. So I have found those. I checked the wrong email for them. I completely missed them. So, yeah, I apologise, but we are now set to go, and yeah, really looking forward to it. Interesting hands and a lot of differences from the last lot of people. So as you know, this is the second stream, and we have had a palm reading before this, so it's very nice to see a lot of you with quite different marks, or some of you with some interesting marks that a lot of you all share, which I share too. So it's very interesting, very nice. So what we will do, I will just talk over a little bit into palm reading and what people believe about it and how it can vary from practice to practice, and then we will go into your hands, beginning with, as the list stated, you probably did see the list, beginning with Sadia. So so it looks like I just don't have Stella, but I haven't seen Stella in the chat, so luckily for me, Sadia was very early, so that prompted me to think, oh my gosh, I've done something wrong. So just quickly try to change that now. I didn't see Stella, so unfortunately Stella will not have a reading because I don't seem to have Stella's palms. But if that's a mistake, we can add Stella to next time. So, hello Ishika. Ishika says, I stayed up the palm reading stream because I get the pictures in, I analyse the lines, and a lot of us have very similar lines. So we all have a heart line, a lifeline, and a headline. So I have to look at which one of you has the most interesting lines, or breaks in your lines, or a variety of lines. So it's okay to come back if you have to go to sleep. So for those people who have to go to sleep, they will still get their reading. If you watch the whole stream, it's a bit more in depth because a lot of you share very similar lines. So listening to everyone's will give you a more varied and in-depth look at your own hand. I pick out what stands out most about your hand, or what you might have that others don't have, and pick you for that one. You know, I kind of pick your hand for those specific lines. But you all do have quite similar lines, so it's best you get a more rounded reading if you listen to everyone. But if you want to only listen to your own, that's okay. And if you can't make it, you have to go to sleep, it's late for you, you can come back and watch it back, because for everyone who sent in a hand, you will be on the stream and you will get a reading. So I hope that makes some sense, and I hope that if Ashika cannot stay, then yeah, just go ahead, go to sleep and come back and watch tomorrow. That's fine. That's fine if you watch when you can. For this one. With some streams, I do request for people to be there in the stream, especially like mediumship, because the spirit that wants to connect with you comes through when you are there. But with palm reading, I rarely pre-plan this stream, and I write about the more interesting lines on each of your hands. So yes, it's definitely hello Marie, hello Sarah, So yeah, come back, watch it when you can, that's okay. So let's get into it and go into a little bit of a introduction, should we say, an introduction to palmistry, to palm reading. So, in a full reading, it's very important to look at both hands, front, back and side. So I know some of you did send front, back and side. I appreciate that. In this sample reading, I will pick out a few interesting lines or traits on each person's hand. It may be beneficial to also watch the other readings, as a lot of you, like I said, have similar lines and traits, so you may learn more about your own palm from listening to others. I will at times mention you in other readings. So let's say you're first, but you have all the lines. I don't want to give them all away. So further on in the stream, when it's someone else's turn, I may read you out again. Say, Sarah has this, but Sadia did also have this, but of course I didn't want it to say in Sadia's reading because that's giving too much in Sadia's reading. So yeah, you may find that your name is mentioned throughout the stream in different areas as well. Palm reading gives insight into personality as well as the future. So a lot of the lines and mounts do show personality traits, but some of you do have clear future or life path events in your palms too. So in a full palm reading, in a full in-depth palm reading, it's a bit easier to give future readings because you can kind of age the hand. You can age the hand into, like, let's say decades, and say this area where there may have been a trauma happen. This seems to have been around between the ages of 10 and 15. You can tell kind of things like that with palm reading. I do feel that there were more time frame indications in the last reading, and you guys tend to have a little bit more traits and personality types in this reading, but that's okay. There may be some, I can't think off the top of my head, there may be some future things to say here as well. So there are some beliefs in palm reading as well. So some people believe that the non-dominant hand shows natural personality and character, whereas the dominant hand shows how we are utilising our potential in this lifetime. Or your dominant hand is thought to tell the present and future, opportunities, challenges, limitations. That is where you are and where you're going in life. But the non-dominant hand is said to be the past, or it's said to reveal your inherent characteristics, personality, innate ability and potential. So in short, the left, or the less dominant, is what God gives you, and the right, or the more dominant, is what you do with it. That's the kind of gist of the belief that people have about reading palms. So most people have a heart line, which is also referred to as a love line. So if you hear me say a heart or love line, they're the same thing. A headline and a lifeline as well. All of you do have those three: a heart or love line, a headline and a lifeline. Not everyone has a fate line or a money line. So I may call it a fate line, I may call it a money line, depending. It's just interchangeable kind of thing, so bear with me. It's slightly less common to have that. Or it's not that it's not less common, that it's less common, but for those who do have it, it can be very faint. It can be very faint. So the heart, the love line, that's the emotional, but it can also show the physical health of the heart as well. Your ability to be loved, to love and to be loved. So we have that emotional side, but it may show a little bit about the health of the heart as well. The headline is, of course, the mental line. So it's about strength of mind or ability to think clearly. So when we see big breaks in the headline, that could tell us moments where you may have had, a big kind of, there could be mental breakdown, or there could be a big kind of cognitive change, something that really kind of twisted your mind upside down in some way. We have the lifeline, which can show indication of physical health, but also enthusiasm for life. So if I'm telling you that your lifeline is quite faint or has breaks in certain areas, it may not mean that your health, your physical health, is going to get bad in those areas. It can also be your vitality for life. So sometimes if we have those kind of more depressive, like lower mood periods of life, grief and things like that, our lifeline could be faint there because our vitality or lust for life is also lessened as well. So the lifeline is said to record major events in life, and like I said, the fate or the money line is the line of Saturn. It's all about work life, money and success. We also have lesser less common lines. So let me just get the hand map up for a second. I have Sadia's up here, my makeshift last minute forgetting of Sadia there, but this is the hand, and oh no, that's the wrong one. I have the hand map. I should also have somewhere here the hand lines as well. That is the hand map, but let me just put the hand lines in. Maybe I forgot that too. Maybe I'm just all over the place today. Hand lines. Let's get the hand lines. So there we are. So there are the hand lines. Like I said, you can see the lifeline, you can see the headline in the blue, you can see the fate or the money line in the purple, which not all of you will have, or not all of you will have very, very strongly. And then the heart line, which all of you should have, which is the pink one. The marriage line we will come to. There's also an Apollo line and a Mercury line, which I will now show you with my own palm. So let me just remove those two, the hand map and the hand lines, for 1 second. So you see those ones, and you see where the money and the face line is, I should hope. Then there is also, so I'll just draw very faintly down my fate line. Just, oh no, my pen's not working. So that's kind of where my fate line is. Have to turn it that way because of the ring light. Now we also have the Apollo line and the Mercury line. So these are two lines which would be, I don't have them, this is just an example of where they would be. So if you see, trying to get it in a way where the ring light isn't too bright, maybe if I hold it closer. So this would be the Apollo line here, the creativity line in the center there, the center one, and then the Mercury line, which is the health line, which we don't want. It's actually better to not have the health line at all. The Mercury line or the health line it's actually it's more indication of like our health issues that we might have, and yeah, it's more indication of health issues that we may suffer, and having that is not rarely desirable. It can be good if it tells us a little bit about what they are, you know, or when we may have them. If someone was to time your hand completely time your hand, it may give you some kind of insight. But if you don't have those at all, which I didn't see any strongly on anyone, so that's good. But yeah, you don't really want to have that health line because it tends to be more trouble than not. Excuse me. I took a drink there, but my drink was stuck to my coaster. So I'm sorry about that loud noise there. So let's just see who's in before we go ahead with Sadia's reading. Oh, important to note, guys, the lines can change over time. So the change will be quite gradual, and it tends to, the most prominent changes that do happen with hands is that the more like finer, the finer lines, we get more finer lines as we go on. The changes that happen to your bigger lines, like your heart line, your headline, your lifeline, they may not be very noticeable to you because they change gradually over time, but they do change. They do and can change. So it is interesting. If you're getting a reading right now and you're, X age, let's say you get another one in 10 years, your hands could have changed quite a bit by then. You never know. The lines can and do change. So, let's just... Oh, on here, it hasn't updated with Sadia's. So let me just double check this. Yes, it has. Okay. My chat keeps not being great. So, hello Ashika if you are still in. Hello Marie. Hello Sarah. Yes, so do let me know if I'm buffering. To me it looks like buffering on my phone, which is not... It shouldn't do because everything... there's nothing going on my laptop apart from this, so it should be fine. Sarah says she's not well. Okay, this is not what we like to hear. So sending love, light and blessings to Sarah. And we'll do a personal prayer for you after the stream as well. Would like to ask everyone to do that as well, of course. Nice that you have some baby outfits. That's very nice. Yeah, we went shopping today. We went to quite a nice little outlet. It was quite nice. Okay, so I do believe Sadia is still here, probably just relaxing now that she's averted her panic from not having a reading. But here we are. Okay, so let's begin. Let's get into Sadia's reading. So, Sadia has a very faint money line, which actually, yes, I put that she had a very faint money line, but it actually looks more like Sadia has a sun line. So a sun line is a little bit different. A sun line it's kind of parallel to so where I drew here my faith line, my money line here. The sun line is ever so slightly over. It's a little bit more towards this side of the hand, the pinky side of the hand. And the sun line is very a very nice line to have. It suggests that it's likely that you could marry into money. You could marry into money, or not necessarily that you marry into money. You know, some people have this line and they're already married, but it could be that your partner or your husband, your whatever, they come into money. So it's a lot kind of about the partner, the other person, having the more monetary position, if that makes sense. So marrying into money, your partner coming into money, having money in a roundabout way, coming into money in a roundabout way, that's not to do with you, with hard work, basically. So you're not working hard for it, but it comes to you through the marriage or the relationship or the connection, you know. So it's quite a nice line to have. It indicates success. So sometimes with the sun line, it can be winnings. It can be sometimes it can be inheritance. Usually, most commonly, it would be a relationship with someone who has money. Sometimes it can be winnings, but most likely it's you get into a relationship with someone who has money, or the person you're already in a relationship with, they get money, whether that's through a promotion or a winning or something like that. The sun line tends to indicate that the partner is going to be the one bringing in the money to you. So that's quite a nice line to have. So I did think I would mention that where it come up, because it does really look quite clearly to be a sun line on Sadia's hand, and I didn't notice a sun line on anyone else's hand. Now I will say that of course the clearer the picture, the better, and some of you may look at your hand, and when I do point out certain lines on other people's hands, you may notice that actually, yeah, I do have that, but it isn't clear in the picture. If your picture's too overexposed or too dark, lines can be missed. Sadia's pictures are actually very good. The lighting in Sadia's pictures is very good, so they're quite clear. So we do also see that she has a fork at the end of her heart line on her right hand. So on Sadia's right hand, there is a fork at the end of the heart line. And this could suggest a strong change of emotion over time, or a strong change of life path due to emotion. So you could have a really big change of heart, that a big emotional change that sets the course of your life in a different path towards the end of your life. Or it could be that you're a strong change of life path due to emotion, yes. So there could be something that happens, you know, something that's it doesn't necessarily indicate to positive or negative emotion, but it does talk about someone you're very close to, very closely connected to, you know, someone who you care very closely about. You have a big emotional period in your life that changes the course of your path a little bit, and that's why there's a fork. It's almost like there's two life path options because of this big emotional thing that happens. So sometimes these can be things like divorces or a child moving away. You know, sometimes when a child moves away, you may be drawn to move with them. Like me and my mother, I moved away, she was drawn to move with me. So it doesn't always mean something negative. Just because it's emotional doesn't mean it's negatively emotional. It can be very positive. One of your children, or even with this sun line as well that Sadia has, perhaps when the partner gets this money, it could be a job opportunity, and so this job opportunity, it's emotional because it's her heart connection that gets the job opportunity, and it changes the course of her path. So you could see this in Sadia's life. And we also see what's interesting with So having a reading in person is very different from pictures, of course, because some people just feel that when they're taking a picture, they have their phone, they have their hand, and it just feels comfortable to hold it in that way whilst you take the picture. So it's not a very clear-cut indication of personality, but generally, especially in an in-person reading, the way that someone's hand naturally is held open or closed indicates a little bit about their personality and their traits. So in Sadia's pictures, we see quite a balance between all the fingers. The gaps are very even. She doesn't have any particular fingers that are particularly spread wider than the others, like this, It's very evenly spread fingers as she's taking the pictures. And this indicates friendly, trusting, so a very friendly and trusting person with an independent outlook on life. So, yeah, a very friendly and trusting person with an independent outlook on life. And if we see the Saturn finger, so I will keep bringing up the hand map just so that you the middle finger, and sometimes I may refer to them as their, Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo. So we'll keep bringing up this map just so that it's more easy if you're not familiar with the terms or with which finger is called which thing. But the Saturn finger, which is the middle finger, has a curve at the end. And most Saturn fingers do have some slight curve, but the Saturn finger, particularly having a curve that's noticeable, like here in Sadia's finger, can suggest that her home and belongings are very important to her. And in some cases, people with this curve can be hoarders or collectors. So the more negative side may be that they're hoarders, but on the more positive side, it could be that they just collect something. They're collectors in some way. They also tend to find great value in things that make them feel secure. So our home does make us feel quite secure, being quite homely people sometimes. People with this curvature of this finger can be quite homely people. It doesn't mean that they don't like to travel or that they don't seek exploration, but they're the kind of people who probably, when they're on the way home from a holiday, they can't wait, to get back into their own bed kind of thing. And the family chain as well. So I was really trying to find, when I was looking at this group, so in the last group, the family chain was a lot more prominent in a lot more of the hands. And I was trying to find the right person for the family chain, so I'm glad that we did eventually get Sadia's pictures. I think maybe... Actually, I think her right hand shows it a little bit better, but let me just try to... If we see... So if you look at Sadia's thumb, the family chain is well, I say above the thumb. It's... So if anyone who's watching now, check your thumb and just see what your thumb looks like, because... The family chain is on the last line that separates the base of your thumb from your palm. So where the base of your thumb meets your palm, it can look like a chain. So the lines can look quite circular, or it can look like a lot of overlapped crosses. The more emotionally connected you are said to be to your family, the stronger and more defined this chain is. So let me just make that just a little bit bigger. You can see it there, where Sadia's thumb meets her palm there. You can clearly see the overlapped crosses on Sadia's thumb line there. Sometimes this line starts out very chained and becomes unchained towards the end, showing a gradual detachment from the family due to age. So of course, as children, we're very connected, very detached to our family, very attached. But as we grow, some of us move away, some of us don't even really bother with some of our family, you know. So the family chain is an important thing to look for when we're reading palms. We may be able to say, you know, we may be able to age even the time that they stopped being so attached with the family, the time that they kind of detached themselves a little bit from the family. So it's another interesting line to look at. So I will just bring up now, because this is going to come up in a few readings. Let's hope it goes. No, it doesn't. Let's just remove Sadia's. Actually, just move this. No, I will remove Sadia's images just to make this easier. Right. So there we have the element hands. Okay. So we have earth hands, fire hands, air hands, and water hands. Now, as we go through this, I think I definitely have a fire hand. I think I have an air hand as well that I have pointed out in this reading. Like I said, it's a sample reading. Everyone gets a few key things about their hand that I found interesting. So, but it is important in these readings, when you're rarely doing a reading, if I didn't say this earlier, to know which is the dominant hand and which isn't. So, yeah, I'll go into that on Vera's reading. But yes, let's just look at the elements at the moment. So yes, the elements here, earth, fire, air and water hands. So, take a look at your hand, think which kind of hand am I? Am I a water hand, an air hand, an earth hand? I definitely have a fire hand within the group, but it would be interesting if anyone does feel that they know what they are, or they have an idea about what they are. And the elements as well, they're not indicative of your star sign. So you may be an air sign, but you may have a fire hand. Sometimes they can be contradictory, you know, where your hand likes to kind of counter what your star sign is. And sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're a little different. You'll see when you check your hands. So there we are. So let's move in now to Vera's hand. So here we have Vera's hand here. So Vera has a very fine headline. So just to put the hand lines back up. So Vera has a very fine headline. And it would be interesting to know if Vera is right hand dominant or not. It's always interesting when you do a full reading with a client to know which is their dominant and which is their less dominant. My drink keeps getting stuck to my coaster. So sorry if you hear that noise. Excuse me. Try to stop that. Right, so a very fine headline, a faint or broken headline. A very fine headline or a very faint or broken headline indicates either difficulty in expressing yourself or being someone who learns new things very slowly or with a lot of repetition. So, yes, you may have difficulty, Vera may have difficulty expressing herself, or she may find that learning new things, she requires a lot of repetition, or she needs someone to be patient with her as she learns new things. The life and heart line are most prominent on Vera's hand, which shows the lessons in Vera's life are much more centered around relationships and emotional connections. It's also important to note that in some practices, they call the ring finger the Venus finger, but it's much more commonly called the Apollo finger, like I said. So when I brought up that hand map, you can see there, oh, nope, it's behind the lines, very sorry. So yes, so when I brought up that hand map there, that Apollo finger, it's sometimes called the Venus finger. So just bear that in mind. If I do say Venus finger by accident, I am referring to that Apollo finger. So Vera has a small Apollo finger. Small is defined by the ring finger being lower than the nail bed of the middle finger. And this suggests that she doesn't fear showing her emotions, and caring for people brings her satisfaction. So, like I said in Sadia's reading, sometimes a person likes to picture their hand in a certain way because it's comfortable. You know, she may have just felt comfortable to hold her hand like that. But to me, it looks quite clear that she does have quite a pronounced line, quite a pronounced gap, sorry, between her first and second finger. So if you do look between her first and second finger, you can see there does seem to be quite a gap there. So that would indicate that she has confidence and good self-esteem. So it's interesting in Vera's picture because she's actually holding the fingers together and you can still see the gap. So I would say there is a definite gap, and that does show confidence and good self-esteem. We do see union lines on at the very side of Vera's hand, just beneath her pinky. But we will get more into union lines in a little bit. But she has 2 union lines. So they're sometimes called marriage lines. And if we look back to our hand lines, they're called marriage lines on that little map we have there. So I'll just show there, those lines there. We can see clearly that Vera has 2 of those union lines. So we won't give away too much now about those lines because we'll get more into other readings with them. I do feel that Vera also has the family chain on her finger as well. But I chose to talk more about the family chain with Sadia because I do think it was a little bit more pronounced with Sadia's hand there. So let's go in to Gretel's reading now. I'm not sure if Gretel is here, but we will just dive into it. There we are. So Gretel. Oh, hello Marie, you've really just jumped in. Okay, so Gretel. Both lifelines are quite fine, especially at the ends. A fine lifeline would suggest issues in health or vitality, especially if the dominant hand had a finer line than the other. However, these lifelines start out a bit more defined and fade as they go out, which is quite common and can signify health becoming less vibrant as the person ages. This could be someone whose immune system weakens with old age or begins to suffer more from the usual things like arthritis. So, as I said, it's quite common to see this. Now, what I'm going to say about the strength of the lines may differ from Gretel's true reading, depending on which is her dominant hand, because I didn't want to be chasing everyone up saying, are you left-handed, are you right-handed, and all of that. If I had more time, perhaps I would have done that, but the lifeline of the left hand is actually slightly more defined than the right. So if the left is her dominant hand, this may suggest that her health issues are... Sorry. The lifeline of the left hand is actually... Yeah, I'm completely mixing up my own words. I wrote this myself. How can I not read it? So, yeah, so the dominant and the lesser dominant hand does vary. The lifeline on the left hand is actually slightly more defined than the right. So if the left is her dominant hand, that may suggest it being something that's manageable and she can live with it underlying. So like I said, like arthritis. So where her left hand has a more defined lifeline, it does suggest that the vitality of life and the vitality of health seems to be more on the left side, which for most people would be the subconscious, the less dominant. But if it's Gretel's dominant hand, that could be why. A strong line on the dominant hand can also show strength of will and perhaps even taking one's health into one's hands. So even if the health isn't great, but the lifeline on the dominant hand is very defined, it can suggest that you're someone who takes your health into your own hands, or that your lust for life and your vitality for life and your strength of will, even if your health is bad or negative or not great, you rarely push through. You take every day as it comes. You strive to get better, to keep fighting, to keep going. So it can show a very strong person. There is definitely just a warning about health or vitality as Gretel ages. So it's important to note that the lighting is very good in Gretel's picture, which isn't always good for palm reading. As I said earlier, Sadia's picture was very good because it was bright, but it wasn't overexposed. I have this ring light, my palm is very overexposed at the moment. And Gretel's picture, the lighting's very good, but it may leave some of her lines very overexposed because she's outdoors. It looks like it's a sunny day. You would ideally want the Sadia's picture level of light where her defined lines were still very prominent and some of her smaller lines were perhaps a little bit easier to see as well. There's also a few branches from Gretel's headline, especially on her right hand, and they curve up, but they curve up towards the heart line. So I'll put the hand map back up again, just so you can know what I'm talking about. So there's a few branches from Grethel's headline, especially on her right hand, and they curve up towards the heart line. In a full reading, your palm is roughly sectioned out into timing, which means we could tell roughly the year of Grethel's life that these branches signify. If we were to try to age Grethel's hands, we may find that the specific branches that branched out were between, you can only age between, let's say, a decade. So we couldn't say exactly that happened when you were 27, but we could say to her, this probably happened between your 20s and 30s. We could do that with aging of the hands. So these branches that branch out from Grethel's headline, these indicate big decisions where Gretel let her heart or her emotions rule over her head. Gretel also has strong travel lines, especially on her right hand. So it seems like quite a strong one, specifically quite strong travel line on her right hand. I'll move that because it looks like I'm covering one of her hands. Yeah, so on her right hand, she does have quite a strong travel line. So this could be one place that calls to her strongly. It could be a place that she keeps revisiting. It could be a place that she's always wished to travel and hasn't gone yet. It could even be a place that she always loved in her youth or younger days, and she moved to when she got a bit older. On the right, she has the rebellion line just underneath her heart line on the pinky finger side. So you may be able to see this. I'll just try to expand that hand a little bit because someone else had this in the last reading, and it's interesting to see it. And you'll hear why in a second. So if you can see it, so you already know what the heart line is, don't you? So you already know the heart line. So look there for the heart line, the pink line there. So we know where her heart line is, ending just about there in parallel with my pen. So this rebellion line is ending around here. So now that I'm pointing it out, it's ending where my pen is ending there. I think you can probably see it quite clearly. The rebellion line just underneath her heart line on the pinky finger side of her hand. Sometimes when this line is thick or on the dominant hand, it shows someone unfavourable to the community. Perhaps a criminal, but not always, of course. Especially when it's on the less dominant hand. It can suggest, and I'm sure in Grethel's case it suggests, a free thinker or someone who doesn't conform just because they're supposed to. This may even be someone who needed to get out of a controlling situation at some part of their life as well. So it's a time in your life where you need to step back and move away from authority. So in criminals, they do feel that they need to do that, don't they? Because they don't agree with authority. But for some people, it's a little bit more difficult than that. It's a bit more, they could be in a controlling relationship, or they could have a controlling family, It's not always criminals. It's just common in criminals. But it can indicate just someone who's a free thinker and doesn't really like being told what to do, doesn't really like the idea of perhaps the government being in control of their, every move and things like that. So it's not always a criminal. There can be other reasons for it, but I just thought it was interesting. And I do like finding that in people's hands. Just think it's quite a funny and nice one to find. So here we have Marie. We have Marie's hand there, which I'll just expand if I can. Oh no, I don't think I can expand that one. Okay, so the Mount of Venus, putting the map back up here. The Mount of Venus is the part of the palm beneath the thumb, and we can have these straight horizontal lines that are called worry lines on there. I have quite a lot of these on my hands. I tried to find an example within this group, and I can see them on both Luna and Gretel too, although they were the best quality pictures. So Luna and Gretel had very good quality pictures, so it might be why it was easy to find the worry lines on that Mount of Venus there. They're very faint lines, so you may all have them, and you likely all do have some worry lines on your Mount of Venus. They may just be less noticeable in your pictures. The number of these lines can vary from a few to several hundred. Mine are very faint and do look quite like Marie's. Marie's look very faint too, which shows, although there may be a lot of worry, it shouldn't have a profound or long-lasting impact on her life. So it's when the worry line crosses or causes a break in the lifeline that it would be more concerning. So just to take that off and do an example here. So I'm going to draw my lifeline on here. So there is my lifeline. This one here. Okay, this one here. Going down. Probably need a better pen. But that is my lifeline there. And the worry lines are the ones that go kind of across like that. They're very faint, but they do go across like that. Now, if a worry line causes a big break in the lifeline or crosses across it, that's quite rare. It's quite rare for the worry line to cross across it, and it's even more rare for the worry line to cause a break in it. That would be a bit more worrying, and you may want to look more into that with the reading if that was the case. But I didn't see anyone with any of them in this reading, and me and Marie don't have them certainly, so that's good. So Gretel, Pooja, Sherry and Marie all have lifelines that touch the headline like myself. So showing my lines again, I already drew on there my lifeline. There is my headline, so you could just see me draw my headline now. That's my headline. So my headline and my lifeline join there. And that is the case for Gretel, Pooja, Sherry and Marie as well. This indicates that we are cautious and we tend to think before we act. We tend to think before acting. A lot of you, like Marie, do not have clear, defined, faint or money lines. This isn't a bad thing, and it's important to note that not everyone has a money or a fate line. So like I said before, the money or the fate line is that purple one there. Not having one can sometimes suggest that you may become self-employed. So as many of you know, I'm self-employed, and it's not overly common that everyone who doesn't have a fate line becomes self-employed, because it's quite rare to have one. But if you don't have one, there's more of a chance you'll be self-employed. If you have a fate line, there's more of a chance you're employed by someone, under someone. Okay. Marie's headline is also curved downwards, which is quite similar to mine as well. So another similarity with me and Marie there. So the headline being quite, I think mine's more, yeah, it's more on this hand, that my dominant hand, that's curved downwards. My headline on this one actually kind of slants out a little bit, like some of yours. My headline on this hand, it really does curve downwards like Marie's. This suggests that she is imaginative and creative. She may be distracted from mundane things in life quite often, which I don't know about Marie, but that's very true for me. So her mind may often be preoccupied by something more fun or more spiritual, perhaps. So yes, that's quite true for me. Be interested to see if that was true for Marie as well. Hello Pooja, hello. So we haven't got to you yet, luckily. You've missed a little bit. I do think it's best to watch the whole thing, because I only pick out about 3 traits from each hand, and a lot of you share very similar lines and traits. So watching the whole thing is best, but if you can't do that and you want to just stay around and just watch yours... Oh wait, has Pooja's been actually? No. I worried then. Yeah. If you do want to just stick around just to watch your own, that's fine. But yeah, watching the whole thing gives a more broader reading, because you all do have quite similar lines, or you at least share similar lines with 3 or 4 other people. So watching the whole thing gives a more broader reading. If you just watch your own, it'll be a very small sample reading, which is the idea. The idea is to have a sample reading, but if you do watch the whole thing, you'll think, yeah, I have that, and you'll get a more rounded reading for yourself. But now we're up to Sarah. So let's get Sarah's picture up here. Sarah, there we are. Okay. So Sarah has... I'll get the hand map back up. There we go. So Sarah has a very clear line vertically beneath her Apollo finger on her Apollo mount. And this indicates a good possibility of luck and sometimes financial success, especially as we can see some under her Saturn and Jupiter fingers too. This usually suggests the luck and financial opportunities are later in life. So when we see the combination of these lines, it can indicate that yes, there's opportunities for financial luck, but they're often later in life. Sarah has one very strong marriage line. So getting the lines back up. Sarah has one very strong marriage line. Although the marriage lines, so I did say in Sadia's reading I would touch more on marriage lines, and here we are. Although the marriage lines are also known as union lines, they don't necessarily suggest marriage or even romantic partnership. They actually show the amount of very important relationships throughout the life, besides family. How close the marriage or union lines are to the heart line or the base of the small finger show how soon or late in life these connections will be made. So as you can see from the picture, the pink line, the heart line, is the lower line. Then we have the marriage line there, kind of sent away between the heart line and the pinky. So this would suggest meeting the person kind of midway through life, perhaps, in this diagram example. Now, let's say your union line was very, very close to your heart line. That could be a friendship, a very close friendship that you meet in your childhood or your teenage years. Let's say your marriage line was very, very close to your pinky finger. That could be a second husband, second spouse, let's say, who's much more important to you, you know? So when we time hands in a full palmistry reading, we do look at how close to the heart line or how close to the base of the pinky finger the union line is, and that gives us a good indication of when the person we're reading for meets this person. When one hand, left or right, has only one line and it's very defined, it is said to be representing marriage or the long-term unionship, romantic unionship. You may notice you have one on one hand and two or three on the other. The side with one would usually represent your marriage or your lasting romantic union, and the other side, showing those other lines, may be important connections in your life. They could be other important romances that you didn't stick with. They could be important friendships. They could even be important business partnerships. So the union lines are not always marriage lines, like people often say. But if there's one very strong specific one on its own on one hand, we do tend to still say that's the long-lasting connection. Now, we all do have ring lines at the base of each finger, where the fingers crease and fold, but Sarah noticeably has another ring around her thumb, which actually, I say noticeably, but Sarah sent me two pictures and I decided to use the picture that was more clear, more bright, I should say, because I do think for most of the reading it was best. But there was another picture that Sarah sent me where the thumb lines were a bit clearer. So sorry about that if you're looking at that picture and thinking what is she talking about, but Sarah did have another ring around her thumb, so it's not just that general crease that we all have. It was another quite defined ring on her thumb. Having two suggests that she's mostly in her logical mindset rather than perhaps creative or spiritual or some other kind of mindset. So this doesn't mean to say that she isn't creative, but it could suggest that her job would be of more of a logical minded job. So, or she may need to be more of a logical minded person. Sarah's a parent, soon to be a parent of 2. So it does stand to reason that Sarah will need to be very logical and level-headed. So this indication on her form is very positive for that. Sarah also has quite wide fingernails, which you can see because her fingernails are a bit long. You can see that she has wide fingernails, and this suggests that she's very reliable. So when we see someone with wide fingernails, perhaps, have a little judge of your own fingernails. Are they wide? It can suggest that you are quite reliable. We spoke about gaps in Vera's reading as well. So we did speak about gaps and how sometimes in pictures, like I said, it's not always completely indicative because for some people it's just comfortable to hold their hand in a certain way when taking a picture. But we tend to say if you hold your hands quite close together, especially if the thumbs together like this, but with Sarah's, her fingers are very close together like that, and that tends to suggest that she can be cautious or reserved. So she can be quite cautious, she might have guards up at times, or she might just be quite a reserved, shy person. Pooja, let me just see, I'm sure I have your hand. Yes, I do. You're third in a row now, so we're moving to Watch Geeks, then Kidda, then Pooja. So let's move on from Sarah now. Who I can't find. There we go. Sarah. Now we have Watch Geeks here. Watch Geeks sent quite a few. Very nice to have sides, front and backs sent. I'm grateful for that. So, excuse me. I found this to be a good image explaining the different types of hands that originate from Chinese palm reading. Like I sent in the beginning, or like I showed you in the beginning. I showed you the hand, not the hand map, the fire, the earth, fire, air and water hands. So, yes, so perhaps look and see, like I said before, which hand you think you have. So Watch Geeks seems to me to have a fire hand. Fire hand traits are passionate, confident, outgoing, adventurous, likes to have a challenge, enjoys attention, but also independence, and are quite generous as well. I found Watch Geeks' union lines to be interesting, as there are the same amount of 2 union lines on both hands. So like I said, a lot of people have 1 union line, so I drew my 2 there. A lot of people have 1 union line on one hand that signifies their long-lasting marriage, connection, unionship. And then they might have 2 or 2 or 3 on the other that are... Actually, that's true for me. I have 1 on this hand and 2 on this hand. So that could be Leon there, my romantic union. And then 2 here for, 2 close friends or something like that. So, but Watch Geeks, very interesting because they're the same on each hand. There are 2 union lines on both hands. So let's not forget that just because there are 2 lines doesn't mean that's not about romantic partnerships. Just because you don't end up with someone forever, they're not your forever partner, doesn't mean they aren't key and important in your life. So there could be the 2 on one of Watch Geek's hands could be 2 romantic partnerships. You know, one could be his first love, one could be the one he spends the rest of his life with. So it doesn't mean that just because there's 2 they're not romantic. They can be. And as you probably know, those of you who had a very intense, life-changing first love who you're not with now, you know, or first love, or if you know, perhaps you're older and you've had many loves, just because not all of them had really deep meaning to us, doesn't mean that a few of them, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, you know, were important. Just because they're not your forever person doesn't mean they weren't important. So I just thought I would mention that. But yes, Watch Geeks were interesting because he has 2 very clear ones on each hand. So not all of you sent the side of your hands. So I'd be interested to know, do you have the same amount of union lines on each hand? So for anyone who is in the chat, I know that this stream's a bit quieter than last time. Our last palm reading stream was a lot busier. But if you're in now, please let me know. A, do you think you are an earth, fire, air or water hand? And B, do you have the same amount of union lines on each hand? Like I said, union lines are those ones there, in between the heart line and the pinky, those lines there. Please let me know. Comment in the chat. So let's move on with Watch Geek's reading. Now, Watch Geeks has a very interesting ring on his hand. I tried to find this in the last reading and I didn't find anyone with it. On the left hand, he has a faint ring of Solomon, which is a ring around the base of the Jupiter finger. So sorry, we need the hand map again. The base of the Jupiter finger. So you can see there, you can see the Jupiter finger is the index finger, the pointing finger. Yes, if I got the wrong then. So there's a faint ring around the Jupiter finger. And if you have this ring, you are intelligent, intuitive and mysterious. You like to study all kinds of mystery, such as occult and spirituality, but also science. You have a keen sixth sense and a strong communicative ability. You thoroughly understand the human nature. Also, you are talented in art and can excel in a position of authority. Since the Ring of Jupiter, or the Ring of Solomon as it's otherwise known, represents wisdom and enlightenment in philosophy, it will be suitable for you to work as a teacher, a lawyer, a judge, or engage in psychological counselling, religion, or numerology. Also, the Ring of Solomon is usually found on the respected or authoritative people, so people who are in the higher positions in their workplace. The Ring of Solomon is a mark of good luck and implies you can always get help from others unexpectedly once you are in trouble. I had to point this out as I didn't find anyone with this ring in the first group, so I couldn't resist but point it out as soon as I saw it. Okay, so let's remove some of these to free up some space. Watch geeks there, because we are now on to Kira. I will take away the F as well. There we go. And just take away the hand map for now. Okay. So Kira has quite oval shaped fingernails. If you can see. Oh, it looks like the top of her hands. We're about out of shot. Okay, I'll put it there, just make it a bit easier. Kira has quite oval shaped fingernails, and this usually reflects someone who isn't impulsive. They might overthink, they may struggle to be assertive with others, they may dislike or avoid confrontation, but they tend to be difficult to get over or to fully forget. She also has quite wide fingernails, which I think I did mention in Sarah's as well. This does suggest that she is reliable. Kira has quite deep and wide lines, which suggests she may have strong likes and dislikes. She may know exactly what she wants, understand her self-worth, and set good boundaries with people. It's interesting also, as we see that she barely has a faith line on her right hand, but she does on her left. If her right is her dominant hand, it suggests that she's most likely to end up working for herself. But with the variation of one hand having a clear faith line and one not, suggests that she could have luck in both options. She could have luck working for herself. She could also have luck working for others. So, yeah, she has options there on the money front. A faith line without any defects. So we'll just get it up again because I don't know if people are jumping out and in. Faith line is the money line. It is the purple line there. A faith line without any defects, going straight and ending at the heart line, indicates a person will have earnings quite easily or without much hardship or gap in finances until their late 50s. They tend to land very secure jobs and have the option to retire at a good age, or they get unexpected luck in finance in later life that helps them with early retirement. So it does tend to point to the financial benefits coming a little bit later in life, but that does come with the benefit of early retirement, so it's quite good. It's not too bad for Kira there. So now we're up to Pooja, which is great because I do believe Pooja's actually here. Yeah, we really don't have a full house tonight, but at least because this is a one that I prepare, it is one that it's always, you know, you can always watch this back. So if you were late and you want to see if you share traits with others, you can watch it back. You can watch it back from the beginning. If you didn't turn up at all, you can always watch it back. It's totally fine. So Pooja, have a few points for Pooja's hands. So very, very good. So Pooja has quite, oh yes, hand map up for the mounts, because I know they're not easy to remember. The lines are a little bit easy to remember, but the mounts are very difficult if you're quite new to it. So Pooja has a quite raised mount of Jupiter, which is just under the index finger. This indicates that she strives for abundance or spiritual growth. So it could be both. She could strive for abundance and spiritual growth. She could just strive for one or the other. But the raised mount of Jupiter does indicate that she strives for at least one of these. She's quite active about setting goals and achieving them, whether they are personal, spiritual, or work related. If we look at Pooja's love line, if we look at Pooja's love or heart line, it's very short and it doesn't reach up to the fingers like most of them do. Most people's heart line reaches the index finger up between the index and middle fingers, but Pooja's does not. If the love line doesn't curve up too much to their fingers, this suggests that they may have difficulty, so Pooja may have difficulty, fully expressing her emotions and deepest thoughts and desires. Although they do yearn to be loved and desired, they may prefer to be approached by the partner or for the partner to express their love first. So it doesn't mean that there's a complete disconnect in emotional expression, but there can sometimes be a shyness and a want for the other person to fully express first. The lifeline is very straight, cutting across the palm, almost parallel to the headline. This means she's very brave and usually very outgoing. So it can be one or the other. It can just be a general outgoing nature, or it can be that not always very outgoing, but brave in the scenarios where it matters. Bravery. Sometimes we don't always step into our bravery until it really matters. So, rosettes or bracelets show the health of our stomachs. So let me just draw those on my own hand so you know what I'm talking about. Get the hand map off there. So these are known as rosettes or bracelets, and you tend to have 3. They can be really defined, or they can be quite faint. The last one I drew here, mine is quite faint. This one's pretty defined, but that first one's very defined for me. And the reason I pointed this out with Pooja, we'll get into that. So the bracelets show the health of our stomach. Sometimes there's chaining in this line, which Pooja doesn't have. But sometimes the bracelets have a slight upward arch, which she does have, and like I showed, I also have the upward arch. My bracelet goes up to the middle of the palm of my hand, as does Pooja's. This can be guidance to keep an eye on the health of the liver, stomach, intestine, bladder, or reproductive organs. So there's a few different organs to keep a check on there. Mine point up to the base of my palm, like I said, like Pooja's. So I'm also called to pay more attention to my health in those areas. So keeping a check on my liver, stomach, intestine, bladder, and reproductive organs. So we're more called to do that than most people that I found on this stream. On this stream, I didn't find many people who had very defined bracelets. But on this stream, though, I will say that there was a lot less clear pictures on this stream than last stream. Last stream, most of the pictures were very, very clear. So who knows? Some of you guys may also have those. And I just saw Gretel here. Hi Venus. Sorry I wasn't here for mine. Watched it back. Thank you very much. Appreciated. I hope you're well. Oh, so you know I'm right-handed. Hi Leon. One of the reasons I like YouTube, can rewatch on no need to have others record. Yes. So Gretel, it's very nice to see you. Always happy with these streams for people to watch back. I would say most of my streams people can watch back. This one especially because I have to plan it. I have to plan it with the pictures. If you can ever not make a stream that I'm doing, just let me know and I will still give you a reading if you let me know you can't make it. Sometimes I will skip if someone doesn't let me know they can't make it, just to make room for like newcomers and new subscribers and things like that. But I am happy to accommodate people if they can't make it. But Gretel, just to let you know, I have only done around 3 points on each palm, and if you watch the whole stream you may get more insight into your own palm, because there are many lines and a lot of people had very similar lines. So I picked and chose who I gave the specific like point to on each palm, and a lot of you do have very similar palms. So if you watch the whole thing you might find, oh yeah, I have that as well, and I have that as well, and I have that as well. And I think the worry lines, I don't think I mentioned them in yours, but you did have them. So I think I mentioned them in Marie's, but you had them. So there will be a few other readings where I'll say, oh yeah, Gretel had them as well, and Gretel had them as well. Just to let you know. You don't have to go back and watch the whole thing, but I have picked out where a few people share similar lines. I've let them know that they do share similar lines. Hello, Kidda! Your reading has been, but you can go back and watch it. It wasn't too long ago, so you probably can go back. You were just before Pooja, so you weren't long ago. If you go back about 10-15 minutes, you should probably find yours. But like I said to Gretel as well, a lot of you share very similar lines. So there will be points on other people's readings. Losing my voice. There will be points in other people's readings where you have similar lines, or you have a similar shape hand, or similar, there are a lot of similarities. So I picked 3 things for each person, but a lot of you have almost all, or quite a lot. So if you watch the whole stream from the beginning, you'll get a more well-rounded reading. You don't have to do that, don't feel obliged to do that, but if you watch from the beginning you will get a more well-rounded reading, because you do all share very similar lines. So I hope that makes some sense. And blessings to Gretel and Kidda. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you are going to go back and have a little look at your reading. I hope you appreciate it. And there's one thing I'm going to mention here in Pooja's, so we're just getting to now, that Gretel does have, and Gretel, Pooja and Sarah all have. So this is a key point, like I'm saying. A lot of you do share similar traits. I've picked it out in Pooja's just because I thought it was very nice and clear on Pooja's, so I might expand Pooja's picture here. But Gretel and Sarah both have this. Gretel, Sarah and Pooja all have this, and this is quite this line's quite difficult to get clear on a picture because it's always a fine line. No one has this like really super defined. So just expand Pooja's hand a little bit so we can try to see it, and I have it, so I will also draw it on my own hand to show you. Gretel's just asking, how would I go about getting a full reading from you? I don't have palm reading on my website yet, but I'm loving it. Like, I'm absolutely loving it. So I'm going to list it. So if you do want to get one, if you want to be like a tester for my first ever full reading, just email me because I'll do like a discount on it, because I haven't done any full readings, any full palm readings yet. So it'd be nice to do a full one and get feedback on it. But yeah, they will be on my website pretty soon because I'm really enjoying them. I really love them. But Pooja, Gretel and Sarah all share this trait, and I'm sure many other people, but it is difficult to get it clear on the picture. So I'm going to draw it on my hand, and you'll probably realise, if anyone else is in here, Kidda perhaps, may realise that she has it too. I've circled it to make it more clear. This marking, it's a cross. Check your hand. Gretel and Sarah definitely do have it. Pooja, maybe you do, but your picture wasn't quite clear enough to see it. I've expanded Pooja's so you can see, if you look exactly where mine is, you can see that Pooja has it. I'm going to talk about that now. So in the last group, I had a lot of trouble finding this one. So you guys had this a lot more. A lot more of you had this. So Gretel, Pooja and Sarah, I definitely saw it in. So it's called the Mystery Cross. The Mystery Cross. So it shows a strong connection or interest in philosophy, metaphysical things, spirituality and religion. These people can sometimes be healers, light workers, or even psychics or mediums themselves. It does depend on which hand it is on, as Pooja's hand's the left hand. So here we see it, I say only being on the left, but actually I believe I only have Pooja's left hand. It's very likely Pooja has it on both hands. But yes, if, like I said, the dominant hand shows your more kind of, the dominant hand shows what's more set in your path. So if you're definitely going to be a healer or a psychic or anything like that, you probably have it on your right or dominant hand. If you have potential to be a healer or a light worker or a philosopher or whatever like that, it might be on your left. If it's potential, but you may not go down that path, it'll be on your less dominant hand. If you're definitely going to go down that path or you're definitely going to do something with it, it'll be on your right. And some of us have it on both as well. So just bear in mind the hands that they're on as well. So if there is anyone else who is in, I know we don't have many in at the moment, but I think Pooja might be in. Kidda, sorry, Pooja's reading now. Kidda and Leon. I don't know if you have it yet. I did Leon a yeah, Leon, you're saying that all the readings are on there, but I don't have palm reading yet on my website. But Leon, I would love to look at your hands and see if you have this. I gave Leon a kind of semi-full reading on his major lines, but I didn't check him for this, so it'd be interesting to see if he has it. Kidda, do you have it? Do you have the mystery cross? Can you find it on your hand? Because your picture was just a little bit too unclear for me to see your very faint lines, but let us know, do you have the mystery cross on your hand? And if you do, is it on one or is it on both as well? So yeah, when we do a full palm reading, we ask for palms, backs, sides, and we ask which is the dominant hand, which is not the dominant hand. You know, we want to know everything about the hand before we do the reading. So let's get to Sherry's now. Let's go to Sherry, who I haven't seen, but I do believe Sherry may watch. Sherry may watch back. I'll just expand that a little bit, because I know there's a lot of arm there, but it's faint on my left, okay? And Kidda, is your left jaw is your left jaw dominant, or Sherry's here? Well, hey. Thank you, Gretel. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we can do like a discount for Gretel to be like a kind of guinea pig full palm reading. That'll be really fun. So Kidda, is your left your dominant or not? Because even if it's not your right or dominant, so it shows you have potential to be a light worker, but it may not be, it's not very strong on your path, but you have great potential at it. So if something's on the left, it doesn't mean that it's not in your path. It just means that you have a lot of potential there that you can choose to bring through to your, you know, to your physical, to your full prominent path, is what I'm trying to say. Pooja says I completely resonate with my reading, and Pooja has been told that she's a light worker before, so that makes sense, especially with being like the clearest mystery cross that I could find. That does make perfect sense. And just because we have like a few people in at the moment, I say a few, we have about 4 people in, but has anyone had a look at this yet? Not that, sorry. Oh gosh. Does anyone have an idea if they think they are... Let me get rid of Sherry for a second. Does anyone think they know if they are earth, fire, air or water? I think you have Kidda, Pooja, Gretel and Sherry and Leon at the moment. So does anyone have any idea? Just a guess. I'm not going to deny or confirm your guess, but I'd just like you to have a little guess what you think you are. You're welcome. You're welcome, Pooja. And thank you, Gretel. It's always good to have confirmation when you're... I feel very practiced in palm reading just from what I've been doing lately, but in terms of like how long I've been doing other things for, it's definitely new. So yeah, and your hand sign doesn't always resonate with your star sign. So if you're an air star sign, you may have a water hand. If you're an earth star sign, you may have a fire hand. Leon, yes, Leon is definitely an earth hand. Kidda says, I think I'm earth. Let's see. I think I might agree with that. I remember Kidda's hands, palms. Oh. Yes. To get a true idea, you'd want it fully, fully straight on, because it's all about how small the fingers are in comparison to the palm. But I do think you might be right. You could have air. Because see, Leon has like a really big like palm and really big fingers. I don't think your fingers are as big as Leon's, but it does also go in proportion to your palm, and I'm sure your palm is smaller than Leon's as well. So you could be air. I would have to see it like fully straight on to fully confirm, but yeah, I think you might be right there. Get rid of that for now, and let's go back to Sherry. So Sherry, there we go. Yes, Pooja, it's not about your sign. It's not about your star sign. It's about your hand sign. Hand signs don't have much to do with star signs. Unless you just mean hand, and I'm getting confused. Sorry if I am. Right, okay, so here we have Sherry's palms. So, Sherry has a long Jupiter finger, which, getting the hand map back up. Hand map there. So, Sherry has a long Jupiter finger, which is the index finger. Yeah, sometimes called the Venus finger, I believe. This would usually suggest that she likes to test her limits. She isn't someone who puts others on a pedestal, in the sense that if she truly wanted to accomplish something, she knows that she's able to do it if she puts her mind to it. So some people kind of think, that person's done all this with their lives, they're very accomplished. I could never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Some people are like that, but Sherry knows that if she put her mind to it, she could do it. She would have to put her mind to it, but she could accomplish. We're all human. We all have the same abilities if we practice, and that's what Sherry seems to know. Sherry has an average length. No, I've done that wrong. Sorry. Sherry clearly has money lines on both palms. Although on her right, it's very faint, but does continue up most of the palm. On the left, it's much more broken. But on both palms, it passes the three major lines: the life, the head, and the heart. So even though her fate or money line is broken on her left palm, it still passes through all the three major lines on both hands. So this suggests that there are or have been many opportunities available to Sherry, and that influence of her other life areas, such as love life, or other desires like travel, have the capability to change her career direction. So she could, the fate line being always present shows that there's always opportunities for money, there's always opportunity for work or money in some way. But where it seems quite easy for the fate line to be to change direction or to change a little bit due to the other lines, does show that things like travel or her love life could change her course of her money life, her financial life, her work life. She could value other areas of her life, such as travel and love, more than career, and could be open to changing career due to the desire to change location or to follow a love interest in their path. So it doesn't look like her career comes first to her. That doesn't mean to say that she doesn't have a wonderful career. It doesn't mean to say that she doesn't have abundance of opportunities available. But it does mean to say that if she was really drawn to change location, she was really drawn to this country, she went on holiday there once, she really wanted to live there, her work life would not stop her from chasing that dream. Or if she fell in love, if Sherry fell in love with someone, that love and that connection, her work life or work constraints, work restrictions would not stop her from chasing that love. She would go to be with that partner more than she would seek to really hold on to that security of that job. Vera, Kida, Pooja, Sherry and Ashika have the strongest heart lines. So actually most of you have very strong heart lines. They are very defined and deep. This suggests that family or home life are very important to them, or to you guys. And you guys have a deep ties and connections with at least a few of your family members, or those that you consider family. You may create very deep connections easily, and maybe the type of people who have lifelong friends or very close trusted circle. You might have a very close trusted circle. Now, I consider Sherry to have an earth hand, which, like I said, was the same as Leon, and which we feel the kidder might have as well. So what are the traits of an earth hand? An earth hand are people who are busy and reliable. They are down to earth. They are organised and methodical. They are drawn to stability. They can be impatient and they can be suspicious. So two of the slightly more of the downside traits of the earth hands, they can be impatient and they can be suspicious. But they are and they are also easily roused, so they may be easily roused as well. But they are busy and reliable, down to earth, and organised and methodical, and drawn to stability. And that was Sherry. So now we have Ashika, and I'll just pour myself another drink before we carry on. My throat's a bit dry today. So we have Ashika next. Okay. I'm lost. I'm off. Sherry off. And oh no, have I put the wrong person on here? Or have I just put the wrong name? I've put... These are Ashika's hands, but I've put Luna. And I also thought that Luna won when she didn't win. I have Luna on my mind for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I said to her, you must be the winner for the next draw, because I keep thinking Luna's won and she hasn't, so I feel like I just need to give Luna something. Okay, Ashika. But these are Ashika's hands, so at least I have that right. Okay, so from the pictures, so let's get the earth hands, the earth, air, and all of that back up, because... Oh, I need to move it over a bit. Oh no, I did something wrong. Right. There we go. So, from the pictures I received, I would say that Ashika has an air hand, or air hands, because she has two. The traits of air hands are innovative and practical, strong intuition, logical and reasonable, sociable, inquisitive, and easy to get along with. You're welcome, Sherry. 2 headlines on the left hand, 1 faint above, which is rare. So let's get the lines back up. Just there we are. So she has 2 headlines. Yes, 2 headlines on the left hand, 1 faint above the other one, which is rare. This rare occurrence is believed to symbolise exceptional mental abilities, strong physical stamina, the capability to pursue multiple interests or careers at the same time. Having a double headline is considered extraordinary and indicates the presence of 2 distinct ways of thinking or different aspects of one's personality. It's important to note that a double headline does not mean being indecisive. Instead, it showcases the remarkable ability to think in diverse ways without any confusion. So what I would be interested to know from Ashika is which is Ashika's dominant hand, because this could be slightly unrealised potential from Ashika. Of course, if you have this ability to kind of understand 2 ways of thinking without having some kind of cognitive dissonance and things like that, she probably doesn't know that, but the extent of the ability is it kind of underlying? Is it something she overlooks, perhaps, if it's on the dominant hand, or is it something she's very, very aware of, basically? Ashika has a long Jupiter finger, which is the index finger. So, Ashika has a long Jupiter finger. This would usually suggest that she likes to test her limits. She isn't someone who puts others on a pedestal. in the sense that if she truly wants to accomplish something, she knows that she is able to if she puts her mind to it, which we also saw with Sherry, I believe it was. So my apologies for doing the same trait for two people. I didn't mean to do that, so I'm sorry about that. The strong curved heart line starts right between the index and the middle finger. This shows someone who has very strong commitment and romantic love, and it's predicted that this person finds a lasting love in maturity. So it's not necessarily someone who dates around or falls in love easily. It's a strong love that's very balanced and that lasts forever, but it's usually that they find it when they're older. They're a little bit older when they do find it. Ashika also has, I have the map up, lines between Apollo and Saturn fingers on her right hand. So when we have those vertical lines from like between where my pen is like kind of, I can't do it with the other pictures there, but let me take this off and see. So if you look at my hand, when we have very vertical lines like that, where the pen is going down there, very vertical lines coming from the fingers, not just when we crease our hands, but when our hands are kind of out straight as well. When we have those vertical lines, they're often very indicative of success. And where they are, in between which hands they're between, can indicate, like I said, with timing hands, when does this success come? I actually have one here, so it'd be interesting to time my own hands and know when I'm going to win the lottery, you know. But yes, so the line she has vertical to her fingers, indicative that she can succeed, she can have success. And this is on her right hand as well. So it'd be interesting with Ashika to know which is the dominant hand and which isn't, because like I said, the less dominant hand is untapped potential. The dominant hand is what's more likely to occur, what's more set on the path. So it doesn't mean she can't achieve that success, but it just means that it can be more prominent, more achievable if it's on your right hand. So yeah, Ashika's some interesting things to note about Ashika's hands there. Let's look now at Joe. So we're getting to Joe now. I don't believe that Joe and Watch Geeks did come in, but at least they can watch back, so that's okay. My throat's very dry. Sorry. Right, okay. So, Joe has quite a small gap between... Get the map up again. I like to just keep putting it up because I think even when you kind of know the lines a bit, you get a bit confused. You keep going back to them. Just make that a bit smaller now. Okay. So Jo has quite a small gap between her love and headline, as does Sarah, Kidda, and Ashika. The wider the gap, the more outspoken and impulsive you are. So this would indicate that Sarah, Kidda, and Ashika can be a little outspoken and impulsive. Right, I'm just going to correct myself there, because what I've written and what is true is I've written something that's a little bit wrong there. So let me just re-say that. Jo has quite a small gap between her life and headline, as does Sarah, Kida and Ashika. The wider the gap, the more outspoken and impulsive you are. So it's the life and headline. So like I showed my hand before, my life and my headline join at the end. If you can see where I'm pointing, that's exactly where my life and my headline join. Not everyone's joins like this. If you can look at Jo's, that the picture in the very bottom corner, you can see the hairlines don't completely join up like mine. And the bigger the gap between those two lines, the more outspoken and impulsive you are. So sorry to get that wrong there. So I hope that's cleared that up. So although Jo's fate line, the money line, breaks, there are no large gaps, which does suggest she won't have much trouble changing jobs, or she won't have huge gaps in work against her will, but does show great opportunities working for others. So again, when the fate or money line is very clear, it does point more to working for others. Not always. Don't think that just because you have a clear fate line you can't work for yourself. That's not true, but it's just quite generally placed like that. If we look at her left hand, I'll just expand her palms a little bit. Oh no, I can't, because she's behind the other ones. Hold on. Just put her there. Should be okay now. So, if we look at her left hand, the fate line does have a big gap horizontally. But where it starts again further along the palm, after the headline, is actually exactly where it stopped. It's just further along. And this is very similar for Kevin in the last reading. So what I'm saying here about Jo is very similar to another person who was on the last reading. So it's the line doesn't actually stop, but it starts again at a different part of the palm. So it does stop, but the gap is horizontal as opposed to upwards, vertically. So there's definitely a change in career, but no large gap in work. This could even indicate where she leaves education or training and goes into work, which is what I often lean to when I see this line. I would often feel that it's a big shift in the fate line. So their fate line could be because they're in work, they're in training, perhaps an apprenticeship, they are making some money from it. It is kind of a job, but then where it jumps along the line, along the hand to a different area and then carries on, that's because they're moving from training to actual work, and then it carries on. Jo has a line between her Saturn and Jupiter finger. Jo has a line between her Saturn and Jupiter finger, which suggests she can make money from a foreign country. So sometimes these people travel and work abroad. Sometimes in this day and age, they work online and their clients are abroad. The heart line on Jo's hands are greatly different on her right. On her right, it's straight and parallel to her headline, but on her left, it doesn't reach right across her hand or between her fingers. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's very interesting because I'll get the lines back up, because the heart line, which is that line parallel to her fingers, on one hand you can rarely clearly see it stops beneath her index finger and it doesn't travel up any further. But on her other hand, it's right across, directly across her whole palm. So I did find Jo's hands very interesting in the variation of the heart lines, very, very different. This could suggest that her lasting romance greatly differs from what she thinks, or even so basically what I'm saying is the idea she has for her partner. You know, she could rarely try with a partner that she thinks is suitable, that she thinks is perfect for her, that, you know, ticks the boxes and is great on paper, but it could greatly differ from what actually suits her and from what is actually perfect for her in the long run, that long-term commitment that she ends up with. This could suggest that her lasting romance greatly differs from what she thinks, or even that she compromises greatly for love in her life. So it doesn't necessarily mean romantic partnerships. She could just be someone who rarely compromises emotionally. So she could rarely compromise emotionally for friends, family, and partners, or just friends and family, or just partners. You know, there's friends and family do come into the heart line, because the heart line is the emotional line. So it isn't always all about our love life. It can be relationships that are friendships and family as well. So she could be someone who rarely compromises for love. Like Gretel, Jo has a clear travel line, and in fact she has more than one. She has quite a few on both hands. So this could suggest that generally she likes to travel, or has a variety of places she is drawn to, or even considers home, and she can remain comfortable even in times of uncertainty. So for someone who has many travel lines, it can sometimes indicate that they have quite a chaotic life, or that they thrive in times of uncertainty and in great times of change, that they thrive off change and all of that. So the travel lines are these ones. So I didn't draw them on before, which I should have, but the travel lines are that side. Sorry, not that side. The same side as the union lines, but beneath. So, like I said, this is the heart line, or that's the heart emotional line there. If it was to carry on to my, the back of my hand, and that is the headline. If it was to carry on to the back of my hand, the union lines are above the heart line. The travel lines, the union lines are above the heart line. The union lines are above the heart line. The travel lines are below the head line. So Jo has quite a few travel lines. She could just love to travel. Could be as simple as that. She could have many places she calls home. Or she could be someone who is restless, sometimes people who are very restless have a lot of travel lines, or she could thrive in change. She could, you know how a lot of people put on their kind of resume, their CV, you know, is great with change, thrives under pressure. That could actually be true for Jo, you know. So yeah. So I hope you all enjoyed your readings. If you do want a more rounded reading, do go ahead and listen to the others, because you do all share a lot of similar lines. So listening to others' readings can help with a deeper understanding of your own lines and your own traits and life paths and, you know, personalities or anything like that. So I really hope you enjoyed the reading. Thank you, Kidda, who says I sent you more palms. But with the palm stream, I really like to, because it is something that I feel quite practiced in it now, but I do still consider myself learning. So it's not something where I would get a picture and just do a full complete reading like straight away off one picture, although I did do that for Leon and I do feel it went well. I like to tread gently, tread carefully, really try to practice before I really hone in. And I have one other scheduled stream, and then one that's the list's kind of almost full now. So I have 2 more streams to do before I'm going to probably offer full readings on my website. After that I probably will, because I am really feeling like I'm loving it, I'm getting the hang of it. But I'm going to give those 2 more readings before I fully do it. So Gretel, if you do want a discounted like a test run with you, where it will be a complete full reading, but I might take some time with it as I'm, still going over things a little bit. I'm happy to do that, but yeah, after those next 2 streams, so probably in November, December time, it will be a full priced session on my website that I will do. I'm really into it. I love it. It's great. I love learning about it. It's been really interesting. But someone sending me a picture on the day, I'm not going to do that just yet. These next 2 streams, I'm going to need the pictures in before the stream to get things, get a couple of points ready to go. So thank you all for joining. I've had great fun with it. You're really helping me to feel comfortable in doing this. Love, light and blessings to each of you. I hope you enjoyed your readings. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, sleep if you're going to sleep now. Just love, light and blessings from me. And yes, I hope to see you very, very soon on the upcoming streams. Do check my homepage for my upcoming streams. I have quite a few scheduled. The next Starseed reading and the next Aura reading are not booked up yet. Dream interpretation on the 29th. If you have any strange, interesting or spiritual dreams, send them in before the 29th of this month for a free dream interpretation. And as always, tarot and crystal ball galore here on this channel. Join me as soon as you can, whenever you're available. Love, light and blessings to each of you.